Welcome to the PDX files. Each week we dive into the weird and the unexplained here in the Pacific Northwest and beyond. My name is Peach.
And I'm Mac.
And Mac, what are we talking about today?
I mean, something I think as with all of our episodes, someone's heard of it at like some point. I've never personally seen it, but we're going to get to dive in a little bit, not a deep dive, but kind of a kiddie end of the pool dive into crop circles, which I think are really, really fascinating.
Right on. Well, as usual, I have not seen this video, so my reactions will be fairly authentic. We'll start now.
Winchester, England, April 24th, 2022. A mysterious formation emerges in a field of mustard plants.
I didn't even know there were mustard.
The perfectly symmetrical design is a phenomenon known as a crop circle. And it is just one of many strange patterns that appear in the English countryside every year.
Crop circles are basically features, designs, illustrations of high complexity in crops.
Sorry, it's just
tend to be complicated designs of unknown origin.
In terms of the patterns themselves, they've been undergoing this amazing sort of ramp up in sophistication. You can find these huge, what they call pictographs that span hundreds of feet across the whole field and feature multiple components, and they're arranged with mathematical precision.
Yeah.
Crop circles appear in more than 50 countries, and there have been thousands of them, maybe over 10,000 crop circles that we're aware of in the modern era.
Yeah, sorry, I actually forgot when I was watching this video. I was like blown away by, how much they kind of reminded me of like Steven Tyler and kind of what he's morphed into, or like Axl Rose.
Ooh, one of the scientists.
They're not scientists, by the way. None of these guys are. But just looking at him, like, what are you wearing? And do you realize you look like an old lady in the stuff that you're wearing, like somebody's grandma? But anyway, the interest of the crop circles is real. I mean, there's some evidence to suggest that it could be something that they're not able to do. But also, I mean, it looks like, just based on these, I mean, just look at that. I mean, imagine doing that like, how long would that take?
Yeah,
if that were fake, right? I mean,
the one on the screen,
amazing.
Yeah, the one on the screen right now for those listening on the podcast, and again, watch the video. It looks like almost like a fractal, kind of design here, right?
Yeah, it's really amazing. So, if humans were able to do that in a short amount of time, that's pretty damn amazing, I guess. I mean, it's possible, certainly. But, and again, if it is a message, like, what does it mean? Like, how are we supposed to translate that shit, right?
I feel like the message that it's sending is, look what we can do that you can't. That's
there is a little bit to that side. Deal with it.
Let's continue.
All right.
Today, thousands of people visit these formations, including researchers who take measurements of the patterns, collect stalks and soil samples, and record aerial images for further study. Documentation of these mysterious impressions may also include eyewitness accounts of strange lights and objects seen around the same time a crop circle appears. Such accounts have been widely reported since the mid-1960s.
First modern example of the discovery of a crop circle actually being made was by George Pedley in 1966 in Australia. What George Pedley saw was an object rising out of a lagoon. And then the object, he couldn't tell how they did it, the object actually made a pattern in the foliage in the lagoon, a geometric pattern from that object.
He finds a circular area where the grass in the swamp or the reeds are matted down. This is reported in the Australian press, and they start labeling these UFO nests or flying saucer nests.
I mean, building something like that in a lagoon, I can't imagine how you would do that. And again, for the listeners that can't see it, I mean, some of the images here, they're not like a bunch of weirdos out there. They're farmers. They're the people who don't really like don't know why this is there on their land or how it could have happened. It's pretty compelling, really.
Right. And the fact that, or not the fact, but it's tied to, it seems to always be tied to some sort of a UAE, United Arab Emirates. So unidentified aerial phenomenon before the crop circles appear. That's interesting because I think there'd been, and I'm not sure if the video will go into it, but I think there was one of the potential explanations for the crop circles are that they are imprints of the aliens,
the landing
gear, right? So that as they're sitting as they're nesting on the ground, those are imprints of the landing gear. But some of these crop circles, at least those that are shown on the video here, those are not landing gear. I mean, those are like
no, not at all.
They're like intentionally created patterns of intricate design, and not just mere landing gear imprints.
Yeah, and I think we'll have to do some research on this, but I think like the Voyager probes had some images and things like that of from humanity, essentially, that might have been similar to some of these things. So if there was an alien, it's like, okay, we've got this. Maybe this is the best way to show that we're watching or that we're around, is to like project some of the things that they've picked up, right, from our culture, and that unfortunately that it leads to more like scaring of people rather than actually, oh, this is a friendly alien. It's like, oh, they just destroyed a bunch of my crop to show me a bunch of nonsense.
There goes, there goes my bottom line for October. No, but here's what you were just talking about, Voyager. Are you talking about like the disk of humanity?
Yeah, I thought they had something like that. I could be wrong on that one, 100% wrong. But I feel like, if an alien were to look at that, they might gather from that hey, this is a way to communicate, possibly. But
got it. You're right, because I think that, and I might not even have labeled it correctly, but that whatever was on that tablet or that disk contained geometric shapes, and so so maybe there's a theory out there that there's an alien species that's saying, hey, we're imprinting the same, either the identical geometric shape that's on there or something similar, because we feel like this is how you're communicating to us, or that's your way of communicating.
It's like Chris Tucker to Jackie Chan. Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? Kind of thing. A little bit. It's like, yeah, okay, we sort of understand. We're just gonna nod and just wave and just keep on going.
How one of the theories, I think it's kind of like this is their marking of the planet.
Ooh.
Hey, this is my it's almost like, it's funny that if this was
on our lawn. Yeah.
It's funny if this was actually like graffiti, like alien graffiti, that these are tags and these are like aliens that are competing with one another, like on who leaves the best tags.
Banksy or something. It's like the Banks and the alien Banksy's like, look at that, look at this. I'm one up on y'all.
All right, let's see. We'll continue here.
While crop circles have been documented for more than 60 years, there is evidence that these mysterious formations have been appearing in farmers' fields for centuries.
This was kind of
Hertfordshire, England, 1678. A woodcut pamphlet called The Mowing Devil is published that portrays a devilish figure creating a circle in a field of oats.
It refers to a supposedly true story of a farmer that saw these mysterious lights in a field. And the next morning when he went out there, he found these circular depressions in his land, actually within the crop.
The stalks weren't broken, but they were folded over. And people even started to blame the devil, what was called the mowing devil.
While the mowing devil woodcut attributed the mysterious crop formation to an evil entity, 200 years later, English scientist John Capron applied his scientific analysis to what he witnessed in 1880, when he proposed that a cyclonic wind of unknown origin created perfectly circular patches of flattened crops.
Capron might be the first person to connect crop circles to what we today call UAPs or UFOs, because he's describing some kind of a whirlwind that is coming out of the sky and is having this effect on the ground. It's creating what we call a crop circle.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know that before watching this video, that I didn't know crop circles were a thing, possibly, potentially, allegedly, back in the, as far back as, was it say 1678? I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And of course I can understand why they would attribute it to the devil, because that's what they did back in those days. Everything was the devil, but
everything was the devil.
But the fact that those things, as they're described, in that, I guess we said it was a wood.
It was a woodcut. It was a woodcut.
Good
yeah.
Lord, how much work is that? But that's amazing that they took that much energy to sort of document that. That leads to me to say that that's not something that it was the revenge of the nerds out there doing that back in 1678, because you're going to get burned for that or hanged or something.
That definitely
that's really interesting.
That definitely was interesting to learn that it goes back, or it could potentially have gone back that far back. And I seem to recall, not sure if this video will go into it, I seem to recall, gosh, I don't know, maybe it was like 10, 15, 20 years ago even, where there was an attempt to debunk crop circles, and they had these people with like wooden boards
and
they're trying and rope, and they're going around in a circle to flatten the the wheat or whatever the crop was, and it didn't quite measure up to the conditions that people would find the actual crop circles.
You can't do that kind of stuff in the middle of the night. I'm sorry, it's not just a bunch of frat bros out there doing it. It's either people who have some, it almost seems kind of cultish kind of a thing that they're doing, or it's something that we can't explain. I don't think it's the devil, because the devil didn't seem like it would be that entertaining. We want to do something like that.
It would definitely be
interesting.
It would definitely be difficult to debunk or even replicate, especially with the way the crop circles, the patterns, but also how the crop is bent, right? And the way it kind of goes into, basically, it's almost cyclonic in the force, right? Like what?
And wouldn't there be footprints?
There will also be
some other evidence. Like
exactly,
it seems like the human beings would leave some mistake behind, because we're humans.
Oh, they will.
It would have been like found us like, we found this board, or we found somebody's shoe as they're trying to get out of there. It was early in the morning. Like, it seems to me like that would have happened in a lot of these stories, and I've never heard of that happening before.
Yeah. It looks like the aliens wear Adidas size 11. So yeah, let's continue here.
Ancient astronaut theorists suggest that these incidents, along with modern crop circle accounts, provide evidence that these strange formations may be connected to visitations by otherworldly beings.
The eyewitnesses who have reported seeing crop circles manifest have described some extraordinary phenomena. They describe tubes of light, swirling beams of light.
Very famously, back in the 1990s, there was balls of light flying across the field that were actually seen to lay the crops flat. Yeah. And within a space of only a couple of minutes, they were filmed actually producing one of those designs.
Many researchers suggest there are now enough reports of unusual activity around crop circles to disprove a highly publicized claim made over 30 years ago, that all such formations are man-made.
I don't know about that.
I think that's what I was referencing earlier.
Yeah, 100%. And it's like there's a technique to do it, and they've proven that they can do it, right? But it takes a lot of manpower and a lot of people it don't be like 30 people, but it could be done with a small party. But you can't do that type of intricate detail in the middle of the night. We just can't. I don't believe that. is possible.
In the middle of the night, without making enough noise to stir people awake and not leave human evidence. I mean, to
Exactly.
your
That's
point
the
from
thing.
earlier. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, you talked about fractals. I mean, fractals are really interesting. I mean, they're kind of based on mathematics and things that I don't fully understand, certainly. And it could be a language of the universe that we don't know.
Yeah.
I think that, are some of them hoaxes? Absolutely, definitely. I think some of them are hoaxes. Some of them are the ones that can't be really debunked or explained. I think you got to take it seriously. I mean, if you have an open mind, anyway.
Yeah, and especially, gosh, when you're zooming out, right, or you're viewing these patterns from the air, there's just so much precision to them, So again, it's like, it's not like where is it? Aren't there like man-made
the Nazca lines?
The Nazca lines.
Yeah.
Gosh, but even that is actually pretty impressive, to be
It's
honest.
really, it's even bigger than what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
It's like it's like a larger scale.
Yeah.
And definitely more, they look like cave paintings a little bit.
They kind of are reminiscent of, yeah.
Yeah, but you can't do that unless you can, to me, unless you can see from the sky what you're doing. It's very difficult to create that on the ground. I mean, maybe it's human made, but yeah,
I don't know. I mean, this is definitely one of those phenomena that I cannot explain easily at all. And and I'm glad they mentioned it on the video that it was about 30 years ago that somebody or some group of people wanted to debunk it.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things that there's no other explanation except this, supernatural or extraterrestrial, if it seems.
And it blows people's minds. It was blowing my mind just to see the complexity of what they were doing. Like there was one that looked like a dick pic. That was probably a hoax, right? Fine, whatever. I can see it was very simplistic, right? But the ones that are much more intricate and complex and would take a lot of work to do, who's doing that kind of stuff? I'm not going to go out in the middle of the night to go do that kind of shit. And then even if I could do it, it wouldn't look as good as that. I'm sure of it.
So do you think these are messages?
It could be. It's just that we don't know. Like I was saying, Kevin Hart, do you understand the words that come out of my mouth? I mean, we don't know how to interpret some of these. Yeah. Sorry. We don't know how to really interpret these things yet. And again, like I said, I think that the problem is that we've tried to recreate that on a hoax level. And I think that's the other thing that kind of muddies the waters with any kind of paranormal or extraterrestrial or whatever it is investigation, is that when you get other idiots involved in things, it just muddies the waters. It makes it more difficult to try to understand. So there's a lot of noise around it.
If it were message from extraterrestrials, you would also think that, I mean, unless it's, they were intentional in terms of the crop circles not making immediate sense. You would think, though, that they would have the technology to go, oh, these people communicate in this way. So if we're going to, via language and via written text or whatnot, that if they want to send a message, like I would want to see a crop circle or a crop indentation that reads, "We will attack on December 24, 2032.
Well, there's things out there, people who think it'll be in 2027 or 2034 where we're going to be attacked by some aliens. It's like, why are they going to attack us? What harm are we going to do? I mean, it's kind of silly.
So I'm more convinced now. I'm now convinced more than ever that it's alien graffiti. It's what it is.
Maybe they're just ideas for like a tramp stamp, and maybe that's what it is.
Well, if you enjoyed this content, please give it a like, share it across your socials to help to get the word out about our show. If you hadn't already done so, please subscribe, and on YouTube, hit that notification bell to make sure you don't miss out on future episodes. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.